And we are good to go.
Hello everybody, welcome to our weekly animal update here at Liberty Science Center. It's Wednesday at 11, so it must be time for our animal update. My name is Fred Hartman, I am the Director of Guest Programs, and I will be your guide today, checking out some of the animals here at the Science Center, seeing how everybody is doing, learning a little bit about them, and of course, Happy Earth Day. It is, of course, Earth Day, and we'll be talking a lot about Earth Day and sustainability and some conservation efforts that have to do with all of our animals. So we're a few minutes early, so we're just going to give everyone a little bit of time to get here, get settled in, ready for our adventure, checking out some of our animals. Of course, you can send in questions at any time as we're going along. Behind the camera is, of course, my producer, Depeche. Say hi, Depeche. There he is. So he'll be reading off any of your questions to me so that we can try and answer as many as we can. Of course, we're socially distancing, so he is standing at least actually quite a bit more than 6 feet away from me. So he'll have to be yelling them at me, but we'll try and answer them as much as we can. And of course, because it's Earth Day, we want you to write in the comments along the way, what are some of the things you can do to help support all the plants and animals we share our Earth with? Or what are some of the things you can do in your daily life to help make the Earth a cleaner, better planet? Because it's the only one we have. And we need to make sure we do the best we can to take care of it. Now, somehow I've gone this whole way without mentioning the real star of the show here, which is, of course, Mickey, who is our green-winged macaw. And he's going to be starting every time we do this every Wednesday, we're going to start it off with Mickey, our green-winged macaw. We know just how popular he is. He is the star. I'm just his co-star. I might even not be that. I'm more of an extra, I think, if anything. We have Mickey here. He is a green-winged macaw. He is, of course, very excited to see all of you. He is really enjoys seeing people and seeing action. So he's really missed everybody since we've had the closure going on. He's really missed seeing all the people come to see him.
Oh, we're getting a lot of comments that people are missing Mickey too.
Oh, they're missing you too, Mickey.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing? Yeah, well, he is certainly interested in everything we're doing right now, and he's got some wonderful enrichment items here. Our husbandry staff, who are our animal keepers, because they're called animal husbandry, do a really great job giving him lots of stuff, different stuff every day that helps keep his mind sharp, because he's very intelligent. And he doesn't do well with boredom, so he does have people here every single day. He is never alone, because our animal husbandry staff come in every day to take care of our animals. So even though we might not be here, and our guests might not be here, our animal husbandry staff is here every day, spending time with him, taking care of him, and everybody here.
Tiago from, he's 3 years old and he says hello.
Hello! 3 years old, so, Mickey here, he's actually 39 years old.
Wow.
He is 39 years old. 39-year-old bird, he's older than I am. And they can actually live till 60, so they're very long-lived birds. But I'm sorry, it's probably not your birthday. Did he say this is his birthday?
No, it isn't. He just said he's 3 years old.
He's 3 years old?
Yeah.
Well, happy past and future birthdays. I'm sorry, I've not had enough coffee yet this morning. So he is 39 years old. They can live till 60, so he's got a long way to go. And he's actually the oldest one here today. Very long-lived birds that they are. He has these. Hello.
Yeah, Evelyn says hello from Pearl River. Mickey, you get someone from Pearl River.
Hello from Pearl River. Mickey, he's actually from, or I should say not him specifically, but green-winged macaws are from South America. So they're from northern and central South America, where they live in rainforests. Of course, he did not come from South America, but that is where his species comes from. He's enjoying some of his wood now. You can see how quickly and easily he's able to rip through those wooden enrichment items he has there. That beak is extremely powerful. They use it to eat nuts, seeds, crack open things like that they might find in the rainforest. And they can bite at up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. 2,000 psi, which means we're not going to do it, but if he wanted to, he could even bite a broomstick.
We got Poppy from England who's saying hello. Yeah.
Oh, what time is it?
I have no idea.
Let us know what time it is in England.
That's far.
Yeah, it's very far. We've gone international here. That really says something about the popularity of Mickey. That we've actually gone international here in just our second episode. But it is 11 a.m. here, or just coming up on Jersey City.
Yep, we're at 11.
We're at 11 right now. Good morning, everybody. Glad everyone is joining us for today's weekly animal update. We're just hanging out with Mickey here, waiting for everybody to get settled in and get here so that we can get started. So we're just hanging out with our green-winged macaw, Mickey. He's 39 years old. He is full-grown. They get to be about 3 feet tall, and his wingspan is huge, and you might see him flap or move his wings a little bit, but up to 3.5 foot long wingspan. So really, really big bird. But as big as he is, he only weighs about 3 pounds. Only weighs about 3 pounds because he has those hollow bones and he's got all those feathers that help him fly. So he can't be very heavy.
It is actually 4 p.m. in England right now.
4
just
p.m.
so you know.
in England. So
Yep.
probably getting ready for some dinner coming up.
Yep.
That's excellent. We're so glad that you could join us today, and we hope we see you every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern U.S. time / 4 p.m. England time.
So what do you think he's doing right now, Fred? What is he doing to his
So right now
feathers?
he's preening. So birds preen. They're constantly taking care of their feathers. Anyone who has a pet bird at home knows that they're constantly, all day, every day, constantly preening their feathers. And this is how they keep their feathers clean and healthy. Because if they don't have clean and healthy feathers, they would not maybe be able to fly. They need to make sure they have those healthy feathers.
Yeah,
Not quite the equivalent of, say, you brushing your hairs or in the morning. He's not doing it just to look pretty. Of course, he is a very handsome bird, but it actually does have a purpose for him. And of course, for everyone who's joined us, we want to say again, Happy Earth Day. We're going to be celebrating or talking a lot about Earth Day through our animal update. Please be sending in your questions as we start talking about our animals. And we also want to hear from you all the things you can do or are doing in your daily, everyday life to help support animals and wildlife and the plants and the planet around you, and how you're helping it to be a healthy, better place. We want to hear all about that. We're going to talk a lot about conservation today as we...
Awesome. Valentina wants you to say hi to Mickey.
Hi, she wants me to say hi to Mickey?
Yeah, and see what happens.
Hello, Mickey. He's giving me the giving me the cold shoulder here. He is not impressed. Maybe if she was here and said hello, maybe he'd be more impressed.
But she's saying hello from where she is right now. Valentina's saying hello. Mickey.
Hello.
No, he's busy.
No, he's preening.
Yeah, he's busy preening.
He is enjoying the attention though. He is an attention hog. Those wood enrichment items he's chewing up are actually, it's hard to tell, those are not like balsa wood or cork. They are a hard wood, and you can see how quickly he rips through those with that powerful beak. You might also notice that he's very messy. He's only been out here a few minutes, and I think the pet's getting a shot quick on the floor there.
Yeah,
look at the huge mess. Now,
sorry, Nicole.
he's very, very, unfortunately someone's having to sweep that up, but I don't think it's Mickey. But that actually has a really important purpose in the rainforest, because as he eats those fruits and seeds, he is a very messy eater, and he drops a lot of it on the ground. But the plants rely on that because they're relying on him or birds and animals like him, to spread those seeds around. So even his messiness as a messy eater helps contribute to his environment.
That's amazing. Someone asks if he's warm-blooded.
He is warm-blooded, so he's a bird. So all birds are warm-blooded, just like all mammals are warm-blooded. He comes from the rainforest, so actually he doesn't necessarily have to worry too much about keeping his temperature high because he lives in a tropical environment. In fact, for tropical animals, sometimes they have to find ways to cool themselves down. And you may notice that around his eyes and his face, he has white. And that's actually bare skin with just a couple little red specks of feathers, but that's bare skin. And the bare skin on his face actually is an area he can help dissipate heat so that he can actually cool himself down living in those tropical areas of South America. But he is a warm-blooded animal, just as all birds are.
Alex is saying that he's messy too. I think I remember Alex. Alex came on our trivia last night.
Well,
Look at
Alex,
that.
we're so glad to have you. I'm not sure if your messiness is contributing to the healthy environment within your house, but to each their own. You can always see what happens. Maybe some stuff starts to germinate.
All right, we're 11:05.
11:05. All right. So we're going to say goodbye to Mickey. We'll be starting off most of our animal updates with Mickey. So we're gonna let Nicole come in.
Oh, hey, Nicole.
Nicole.
Nicole's getting some shout-outs.
Nicole also a way bigger star than I am. So we're gonna let Nicole is going to go put Mickey away, and we're gonna be taking out our next animal. We're actually gonna be taking our next animal.
Wow, Fred, what are you pulling up now?
What is that? You can probably hear Mickey, by the way. With a very loud call. He can actually call out at well over 100 decibels, which is close to the, or equivalent to how loud a motorcycle or a snowmobile is. And that's actually an adaptation because he lives in a dense forest, so he needs to be able to be very loud to make sure that all the other macaws can hear him. But we've got our climber here, and let's see who we have who's going to be climbing on our climber. And of course, keep sending in those pictures, not those pictures, don't send pictures.
We wouldn't be able to see them.
Those questions, there we go. And also any comments or any ideas you have on how you might help the environment and help us celebrate Earth Day.
Oh, wow.
Look at this. So
Wow.
Nicole has placed a boa constrictor on our climber. So this climber here is actually built for snakes to climb on. It's something special we have here at the Science Center. It's an excellent enrichment item for some of our snakes who are arboreal, which means that they are snakes or animals that like to climb around, especially up in trees. And of course, boa constrictor is definitely one of those who likes to climb.
Wait, how close can I get?
That's pretty good right there.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Hopefully everyone is getting a really good shot of our beautiful boa constrictor. And a boa constrictor would be an animal that would actually share a habitat and a range with Mickey the green-winged macaw. So these guys come from Central and South America, especially the northern half of South America. They also live in forests and tropical forests. And this would be an animal that if a macaw saw climbing around on a branch nearby, definitely would have given out in the wild, would have given out those loud warnings and flown off, because these would not be animals that would go well together, because our boa constrictor, like all snakes, is a predator. They're carnivores.
Oh, we're getting the first question because of its sheer size. How big is our boa constrictor?
What a great question. So people think of boa constrictors as being just like the biggest snake ever, and that's actually not true. They're not even close to being the biggest snakes ever. They fall kind of somewhere in the middle as far as when you're talking about the really large boas and anacondas and pythons. They can grow to really about a maximum of 13 feet, which sounds huge, right? If you saw a 13-foot snake, yeah, you would probably think that's quite a big snake.
Wait, so how tall are you?
How tall am I? Are you really gonna?
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Me right here.
A little bit.
So I probably stand somewhere around 5'8", 5'9". 5'11" on TV though.
All right, here we go. It adds a few, right?
Yeah, it adds a few. So yeah, if we were to, he's not going to stand up, of course, because he's a snake and he doesn't stand. It's not a thing they do. But if we were to stretch him out, he is probably longer than I am tall, and they can get a really big boa can be up to more than 2 of me. But the largest snakes in the world can get well over 20 feet. Wow. So to give an idea, there are snakes in the world like the reticulated pythons, some of the really large pythons, the green anaconda, also from South America. And those snakes can get well over 20 feet long.
Next popular question is, what does he eat?
What does he eat? Well, he is a carnivore, so he only eats other animals. And the honest answer is he'll eat most animals that he can fit in his mouth. But he's most partial to warm-blooded animals such as birds and medium-sized mammals. So that is really his preferred food. And you can see, I think he's giving us some good tongue flicks, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
It looked like he was doing it there for
Yeah, he was. Yeah, there he is.
I think he's on to you, Dinesh.
Oh, that's, yeah, I mean, I'm going to step away
He's
now a
on
little
to
bit.
you.
Just a little bit.
Fortunately, he's, of course, he's used to being around people. We're not in any danger at all. He's using that tongue flick to explore the environment around him. That's what snakes use their tongues for, and he is definitely checking everything out. And they almost, in a way, smell with their tongue. So they stick those tongues out, and they move them up and down, and they're collecting odor particles, and then they're pulling them into their mouths, and they have an organ on the top of their mouth that is then taking that information and telling the snake what is around it. And of course, they're usually smelling or searching for warm-blooded animals. And we're warm-blooded animals, but he knows that we're not food.
So someone wants to know if snakes are ticklish.
Are snakes ticklish?
Yep.
Wow, I'm not frequently stumped. I am
That's
not,
what we aim for on this
I don't know how to
update.
answer that question. I have been working with snakes for a very long time, and I have never sensed one to be ticklish. I'll say that there are certain, like any animal, there are certain ways they don't want to be held or don't want to be touched, which is maybe not exactly like ticklish, but most people don't like to be tickled. And there are certain ways that, or places a snake doesn't want to be touched. They certainly don't like being touched on their heads, or they might not be wanting to be moved in a certain way. So they have preferences too, just like people do.
All right. And a lot of people are saying the biggest question right now is, how old is he, and does he have a name?
So I do not know his. All right, so I'm getting Nicole is giving us the
Nicole's
inside
there
scoop
she
here.
is.
So
This is 5 or 6.
Nicole told us that this particular snake is about 5 or 6, and we did actually learn that this snake's name is also Rosie.
Rosie.
This is Rosie, the boa constrictor. They
Rosie.
can get to be 20 to 30 years in age, so this is still a relatively young boa constrictor. Now, I want to make sure that one thing we talk about with each of our animals is some conservation, because unfortunately for a lot of animals, they're threatened, they're endangered for various reasons. Boa constrictors, while not endangered as a species, do have local populations. So in some areas, their numbers are down and they're endangered. And really the reasons why, one, of course, a huge one, and it is for a lot of animals. Why don't we come over here?
Yeah.
So we can see our boa constrictor a little bit better. One of the biggest threats, and really the biggest threats to most of the animals on the planet, is habitat loss. So they live in forested areas, rainforest, and of course we know that the rainforest, we have less and less of it every day. So much of it is being cut down, not in each year, but every single day. And when those trees are lost, animals like Mickey and our Rosie, the boa constrictor, well, they have nowhere left to live. So that there are local areas where these snakes are endangered. And another threat to them is illegal collection, because some people do collect them maybe as a pet, maybe they hunt them to take their skin, which of course their skin looks way, way better on them than anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous skin.
But it's really important that we have animals like this here at the Science Center and in lots of places, so that we can develop a really deep appreciation and understanding for them. Because the more we learn about them, the more we care about them, the more people will want to help them and make sure that we always have boa constrictors and always have green-winged macaws. We don't want to live in a world where we don't have those animals or don't have rainforests.
So we're getting 2 popular questions. 1, what do you feed her and how often is she fed? And 2, is she poisonous?
Oh, okay. Well, let me do the second question first, because that's such a fantastic question. So the quick answer it's actually an in-depth answer for if the snake is poisonous. So actually no snakes ever are poisonous. There's no such thing as a poisonous snake. Poison is something that makes you sick if you ingest it, so, or if you get it on you. I'll give you an example. So poison ivy, right? So poison ivy, if you walk through the forest in the Northeast, you like to do lots of hiking, it doesn't jump out and bite you, right? But if you rub up against it, it gives you a rash. So poison is something that you have to eat or rub on you to make you sick. But some snakes are venomous. Venom is not the same thing as poison, and venom needs to be injected. So a scorpion or a snake can be venomous. That said, our boa constrictor is not venomous, and the way they capture and eat their prey is actually in their name. He's a boa constrictor, or she's a boa constrictor, because they're constrictors. So they're constrictor snakes. They bite, they strike out. They can strike out really fast. I know our boa constrictor right now is not moving very quick, but when they want to move very fast, they can. They strike out, bite, and quickly wrap their bodies around and squeeze their prey, and that's how they catch and kill their prey. So they're constrictors. As far as how often we feed them, most of our snakes here are fed on an every other week schedule. So they are cold-blooded animals, as opposed to we were talking about making them cause warm-blooded. So they don't have to have 3 meals a day like we do, or even have to eat every day, or even every week. So they eat every other week or so. Most of our snakes, not all of them. And for a big snake like Rosie, she's probably eating things like large mice, small rats. That would be a really nice meal for Rosie.
Oh, so small rats, mice. That's incredible. I mean, so one last question before we move on.
Okay.
So it seems like Rosie is really loving this gizmo that we have. One question we're getting is, what does Rosie do all day?
What does Rosie do all day? So, snakes do well, I think, in times like these because they don't need they're not starved of activity quite as much as we are. So it's not like Rosie is ripped through half of Netflix at this point or anything like
Tiger
that.
King.
No, yeah. So snakes are, as cold-blooded animals. They spend a lot of time basking, soaking in heat. She's got wonderful heat lamps around her enclosure that keep her warm. And they stay very inactive a lot of the time. So when you're a cold-blooded animal, one of the ways that you conserve energy is by just staying inactive a lot of the time. So when you see a lot of snakes and lizards and turtles and crocodiles, you're probably usually seeing them doing nothing. And that's on purpose. It's not because they're lazy at all. It's actually an adaptation that allows them to conserve energy for when they actually need it. So cold-blooded animals, much like Rosie, are not active a lot of the time and spend a lot of their time resting. That said, even cold-blooded animals, even snakes, require enrichment. Every animal requires enrichment. So things like this are really great that we have this for our snakes and for Rosie because it does get them out doing something different. It does stimulate them. It does keep them healthy. She's getting to climb and use different muscles. And you can even tell she's really moving around on this. This is a very natural behavior. We want to mimic those natural behaviors for our animals as much as possible with their enrichment. So even though she's a snake, it doesn't do much most of the time, most of the day, because she's conserving that energy. It is really good and healthy to get all of our animals out doing different things. And you're going to see that all of the animals we're going to show you today, we're going to have some enrichment for all of them, helping them to practice those natural behaviors.
All right, I think we're good.
All right, so I think we're going to get another pop in by Nicole here, who's going to
Oh wow,
Rosie.
Rosie is huge.
Yeah, you can really see how big Rosie is now.
They're asking if Nicole or Fred, are you guys scared of Rosie?
No, we're not scared because One, we're always being very careful and very respectful of our animals. We're never purposely doing anything that would endanger them or us. And we work a lot with them, so we're very used to being around them. They're animals that are here at the Science Center, so they're used to being around people. And we're not asking them to do anything they don't want to do. So for the most part, they're I don't want to say happy, but they do get some level of stimulation from doing all this enrichment that we have for them. It is something that's really healthy for them. Oh, now something for a completely different.
Oh, something furry.
Something furry. So this is a chinchilla. This is a long-tailed chinchilla, there are two species of chinchillas, the most common one. And you'll see that I'm not really holding her so much as I'm making myself a platform for her. Chinchillas really don't like to be wrapped up at all or held. They just kind of like to stand on platforms. And they're excellent jumpers. They like to climb and jump. They have very nimble feet and toes. And let me see if I can reproduce position so you can see that tail of hers. And they can even use that tail almost to help guide them and keep them steady as they leap. Now this chinchilla here is very standard sized chinchilla. They're about 1 foot long. And despite that small size, can leap up to 6 feet. So the little chinchilla, 1 foot long chinchilla, can leap up to 6 feet. That's a great adaptation to have because they live in the mountains. So this is an animal that would not be happy in the rainforest at all, like Mickey or our Rosie, the boa constrictor. They much prefer to be up in the mountains where it's very dry, very rocky. That is where they like to stay.
We're getting a lot
please
of...
keep sending in those questions. Keep telling us all the different ways you're celebrating Earth Day today as we go through our animal update. So, of course, we should talk about the fur, right?
Absolutely. Everyone's saying that it looks so cuddly. And if the chinchilla has a name.
I'm sure the chinchilla has a name. Nicole, do you know?
Cory.
Cory?
Yeah.
Cory the chinchilla.
Cory.
So this is Cory the chinchilla. Sorry, I'm not up on all my names. I'm going to have to study more on the names. This is Cory the chinchilla. And yes, let's talk a lot about that fur because that's, of course, what chinchillas are most known for. That fur is super, super thick. So as big as the chinchilla looks, they only typically weigh around 1 pound or so, 1 to 2 pounds. So most of this is just fur. Now, we have hair too, right? Because as mammals have hair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and your hair comes out of a follicle. And for most of the time, for a person, you only have 1 hair that comes out of a follicle. For chinchillas, they can have up to 60 hairs coming out of 1 follicle. They have the second highest fur density of any animal on the planet. The second thickest fur of any animal. Should we do this as a, I know trivia is actually Thursdays and Fridays. Should we do a quick trivia? We'll give the 30-second countdown. What animal do you think has the thickest fur of any animal? So this is the second thickest. And they have this very thick fur to help keep them warm because up in the mountains of South America, around in Chile and the Andes Mountains where they're from, it can get very cold. And this helps keep the small animal very warm. Do you have any guesses on which animal has the thickest fur density?
Not yet. I think there's a little bit of a lag, so we might get some answers later.
We might get some answers.
But it seems like Cory is he nibbling at your fingers or?
Nope, she's moving her nose around. She's just like our boa constrictor was sticking her tongue out, sensing the world around her. Rosie is doing the same. She doesn't stick her tongue out like a snake, but she's sniffing. She's moving these whiskers around. She uses those to sense as well.
We're getting mink, polar bear.
Mink.
Someone has a whale.
Polar bear is actually, that's a really good guess.
Polar bear again.
It's not polar bear, but that's a really good guess. Mink actually is too. So the answer is sea otter.
Sea otter. Jacqueline got it right first.
Good job, Jacqueline.
Look at that.
Sea otter, which actually is a relative of the mink.
Maria got that
and
right too.
lives in a marine environment like the polar bear. So, and they have, of course, that thick fur to keep them warm in the very cold waters off the coast of California where they live. But this is the second highest fur density of any mammal. And like I said, they live in very dry areas up in the mountains. So they don't do well at all in rainforests. And where they live, it's very dry and there's not a lot of water. Now look how beautiful her fur is. Look how clean and beautiful that is. So how does a chinchilla keep clean if they can't take a bath? And they don't have, there's no water. How can they, or not much water, how can they keep themselves clean? Well, they do take baths, but they take dust baths.
Dust baths?
They take dust baths because where they're from in the South American mountains, there's lots of volcanic ash and dust. And why they do that is the dust will attach to oils and dirt and things that might get trapped on their fur and then falls off. And that is how they keep their fur clean. But you don't want to just hear me talk about that. We want to see her take a dust bath, right?
What?
We're going to see her take a dust bath.
We're going to see that?
We are. We have a bin here.
Just for the record, I wasn't prepared for that one, so that was cool.
You're not prepared? All right. But we're going to put her in there, and you'll see just how much they'll enjoy their dust bath. She's going to immediately know what's going on. She's going to want to roll around. I'll take a step back so that you can, so that Depeche, our producer here, can get in real close. So I'm going to stand behind the camera. I'm going to put her down.
All right, so
She's
Cory is going in.
recognize
Oh,
dust.
oh, that is amazing. Oh, she's really rolling around.
It's so important for them to keep their fur clean because it's how they survive. It's how they keep warm. So they need to make sure they're always taking care of their fur and taking care of their insulation, basically.
Oh my God, he's going all crazy. Okay, wow, that's amazing.
And of course, it's just a lot of fun to watch chinchillas take dust baths.
Wow. So, yeah.
She's thinking about it?
She's thinking about it. She's gonna go. She's gonna go again.
Now, of course, we want to talk about conservation when it comes to any of our all the animals we're talking about today. And unfortunately, the chinchilla has a bit of a sad story to tell. So there, like I said before, there are two species of chinchilla, the short tail and the long tail. The short tail chinchilla is almost completely extinct. I'm going to take her out. I think she's done with her dust bath. Excellent job, Cory. Is almost completely extinct. This is the long-tailed chinchilla, and if you have ever seen a chinchilla, this is probably the type of chinchilla you've seen. But out in the wild, there's only about 10,000 left. There's not many left.
Oh, no.
The biggest threats to them, of course, have been hunting. For a long time, people used to hunt these for their fur, to make coats out of them, to make scarves out of them, things like that, which is just really awful. And because of that, there are just not a lot of long-tailed chinchillas left in the wild, only about 10,000. It is now illegal to do that, so
That's good.
that is something that's not happening nearly as often, but a lot of damage was done and their numbers are still declining. So there is really important that we stay as good stewards of the environment so that we always have wild chinchillas. We don't want to just see chinchillas here, we want to be able to see them out in the wild if you're ever out to go to the Andes Mountains. And it's always important to also know what you're buying and what products you're getting, and if the companies that you're buying stuff from have good sustainable practices. Because we want to make sure that all of our animals and our plants too are protected, because we really need them.
All right, we're getting
great good questions about our chinchilla.
Yeah, we are. One is, so we just had the dust bath. Is the dust anything special? Is there anything special about the dust? And two, why was it such a quick bath?
Was it such a quick bath?
Yeah.
So I guess that's up for her to decide. I'm not sure if they're. I'm not sure if I wouldn't use that as an example for home if you think you can have a bath that quick and clean yourself as effectively as our chinchilla can. I guess that's just all she needed. She probably wasn't that dirty. Of course, she is not out in the wild of the South American mountains. She's not digging around in the dirt and getting all messy every day. She's very well cared for here every day. So her fur, as you can see, is very clean. So she felt like she didn't need much. Just freshening up, I guess. And I'm sorry, I forgot the first half.
Is there anything special about the dust?
No, it's just it's a special dust that they do sell for chinchillas. That it's very, very fine. So it's not like sand at a beach. It's very, very fine dust that they prefer. So it's not just kind of a sandbox for it. It's very, very fine dust.
Do we know Cory's age? And our chinchilla is nocturnal.
Oh, I do not know Cory's age, but chinchillas can live to about 10 years old in captivity. No, not 10 years old in the wild. They can live up to about 20 in captivity. Up to 20 in captivity, sorry. And I'm sorry, again, forgot what the other part of that was.
Are they nocturnal?
Nocturnal, yes, that's a really great question. So they are frequently nocturnal, but they're also something called crepuscular. So people know that.
Say that fast 3 times.
So nocturnal means, of course, everyone at home, that you're active at night. Crepuscular means you're active at twilight. So kind of that time, that transition times between day and night. And that's a popular time for a lot of animals to be active. And that's definitely a time you might see a chinchilla active out in the wild.
Crepuscular.
Crepuscular.
Is
our
that
word of the day.
Yeah, vocab word of the day. I'm going to have to say that.
We're gonna test everyone on that next Wednesday. Next Wednesday at 11 for the next animal update.
All right. I think we're good.
I think we're going to you guys are going to stay right there. I'm going to put our chinchilla down. All right, we have one more animal for you. Before we go to see our next animal, though, I just want to give a quick message about Earth Day. You know, here, Earth Day is such a big holiday for Liberty Science Center, and it's such really connects so well with our mission here, because we are all about introducing people and showing people and teaching people about how the world works. That's really what science is about. And the more we learn about the world and how it works, the more we can better learn how to interact with the Earth and better interact with the animals and the plants around it. So Earth Day is a really important holiday here for the Science Center, and we're so happy that you're joining us. And I also want to give one last shout out to all of our members and our supporters out there who have contributed to the LSC Sustainability Fund. Thank you so much. You guys are all amazing. All of your donations go to helping support live science interactions just like you're seeing right now, and also for caring for our animals. So thank you so much. All that said, we have one really last amazing animal we're going to show you. We're actually going to go over here.
Earth Day, hey, hug a tree.
All right, and I'm going to actually take a step back so that Depeche can get in there really well. And this is an African pygmy hedgehog.
Oh, I'm losing light.
And we're going to let him run around in this. And Nicole, you'll see, is actually adding some live crickets that our hedgehog definitely enjoys.
There he is. Live crickets. Oh yeah, there they were walking around.
So that's another great enrichment item so we saw some animals like a chinchilla really enjoy having a bath, or our boa constrictor really enjoyed a new item to climb on. But another very popular enrichment item for animals is, of course, food. So our hedgehog being able to hunt around and search for those crickets and those little mealworms that Nicole's putting in there.
Oh, there he is. There he is. He's
being a little
coming out.
Shy.
Yeah. Coming that way. Oh, there we go. Oh, there he's eating.
So this is an African pygmy hedgehog, and as their name suggests, they come from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. So it's kind of in the middle, like if you were to put a belt across Africa, that's where they're from. And they also live in drier environments like savanna, field, brush, areas like that. They prefer it where it is very dry.
And how are they fast? Are they quick?
You know, I'm not sure they're winning any races, but I wouldn't call them slow at all. They definitely can move around. They're very active predators. They're another animal that's active at night or sometimes in that crepuscular time.
Crepuscular. I love that word.
And then you'll see that he's eating those crickets and those mealworms. They mostly do eat invertebrates, so they're big-time insectivores, eating bugs and worms and things like that. Though they're technically omnivores because they do, at times, enjoy eating plants as well. And he's getting more comfortable.
You're about to get it. You're about to get it. Oh, he went for it.
And really showing off how they're able to hunt. So they've got little eyes They're not big eyes, and they don't have very strong vision, which of course when you're an animal like him who's maybe in the dark a lot, maybe you don't need strong vision. But see how he's sniffing around?
Yeah.
He's got very strong sense of smell. In fact, hedgehogs like him can smell food or animals or food items up to 4 centimeters underground, which that might not sound like a lot to you, but when you're a little hedgehog, that is really, really powerful sense of smell. They also have pretty decent hearing, and you'll see that he's actually got pretty big ears for a little animal. And as an African pygmy hedgehog, he is the smallest hedgehog in the world. So he is full grown. They only get to be about 8 inches long, about 1 pound in weight. This is about as big as a pygmy hedgehog will get.
Is there a difference between a hedgehog and an echidna? I'm getting that question.
Yes. Wow, echidna, yeah. So they are not close relatives. Echidnas are marsupials. That's an animal you'd find more down towards the area around Australia. Hedgehogs are not marsupials, so they are not close relatives. Though I can see where someone might think like, wow, this hedgehog, maybe it's like an echidna or maybe it's like a porcupine, also not a close relative of porcupines because they're rodents, because of those spines they have, and that is how they protect themselves. They have about 5,000 of those spines on themselves. Unlike porcupines, though, all of their spines are exactly the same size. Porcupines, they have very different size quills, but not hedgehogs. They have all the same size.
Oh, we got a cricket.
And those are modified hairs. He caught another cricket. He's actually doing really well. He hasn't even moved that far from his little half log here, and he's been able to catch a lot of crickets. I still see a few crawling around, though. He has complete control over those spines, so there are muscles that allow him to move them up and down. So when he's very calm, like he is right now, they lay relatively flat. But he can make them stand up if he's feeling threatened. And another thing they can do, that certainly a porcupine can't, is they can roll up into a ball and completely surround themselves with those spines. And they could stay like that for hours. And that is a great way for a little animal like him to protect himself, because as you can imagine, walking around in a field or in the savannah in Africa, you know some of the big predators walking around there. There might be a lot of predators walking around who'd like to make a snack out of a little hedgehog. So they have those spines to help protect them.
Oh, we're getting an Earth Day question actually on conservation. How many hedgehogs of this kind are left in the wild?
Okay, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about conservation for the African pygmy hedgehog. Now, fortunately for the African pygmy hedgehog, this is not an animal that is endangered. So they do have decent numbers still in the wild. But just because an animal has decent numbers in the wild today doesn't mean that if we don't take efforts now, they will tomorrow. So there are still a good number of African pygmy hedgehogs in the wild. We want to make sure that we continue to be good stewards in the environment so that we keep it that way. We don't want to ever have to see African pygmy hedgehogs popping up on an endangered species list. We want to see that list start getting shorter, not longer. So we need to take care of the animals that aren't endangered as much as sometimes the ones that are.
Yeah, he's shy.
He's being a little shy. That's okay. It's a big day for him. It's his big live stream animal update debut. I know I was nervous my first time.
People are asking, why isn't he blue like Sonic?
So I'm not aware of any naturally blue hedgehogs. He can roll up into a ball like Sonic the Hedgehog can. And again, he uses that to protect themselves. Fun fact about their ability to roll up and protect themselves, they are able to do that at only 2 weeks of age. So very young, they're able to protect themselves in that way. But no, he cannot roll up into a ball and go flying off into the air. He can't run as fast as Sonic. He doesn't have to worry about Dr. Robotnik, fortunately. He doesn't have a friend named Tails.
That's so cool. We're getting a lot of questions about his spikes. Are the spikes dangerous? Can you get hurt?
The spines, so yes, so they are sharp. I'm not sure I would call them dangerous to us, they'd certainly hurt if you were to get jabbed by them. It would be unpleasant, and it's not something you would at all want. It's definitely a deterrent, because you can imagine if those spines, if he was completely in a ball and he had those spines, and you wanted to go take a bite of them, you probably wouldn't have to bite very hard before you figured out that that was not something you wanted to eat. So it is definitely a strong deterrent. But I'm not sure I'd go as far as to call them dangerous, but they definitely can hurt. And they'll definitely make you think twice about maybe I'll go find something a little less spiny to try and eat.
People want to see it. They want you to stick your hand in there.
Well, I am not going to stick my hand in there.
You can film when I pick her up.
I think Nicole is going to pick him up in a moment.
Okay. Can they live? Are they social?
Are they social? So they're actually not. They're solitary animals, and they're actually very territorial.
Oh. Nicole's so brave.
Well, I don't want to touch him because I just touched our chinchilla, and I haven't had a chance to wash my hands from touching the chinchilla yet. And we don't want to contaminate.
So she's pretty comfortable. You can see her, like, as she knows I'm not a threat, her spikes are going down a little bit. So you can see she has control over them, and she's realizing it's safe. And she can put them down.
And you can really see that nose moving, and those big ears, and maybe not quite as big eyes that we're talking about.
We're getting in capital letters. How old is our hedgehog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the wild, they'll only live to be about 2 to 3 years old. But in captivity, they can live up till 10. But Nicole's telling us that our hedgehog is still on the younger side. We got to be careful. We put Nicole on camera too much, she's going to take my job.
She's getting a lot of shout-outs, Fred.
I know,
I'm just saying.
Out of curiosity, how many shout-outs have I got? Devan's just shaking his head.
Moving on.
That's okay, that's all right. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us for our animal update. We will be back next Wednesday at 11 a.m., so please join us as we check on a few of the different animals here at the Science Center. We have over 100 different species of animal here at Liberty Science Center, so you never know what we're going to be seeing. Again, thank you all so much to all of our donors and our members. We really couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Everyone, happy Earth Day. Keep telling us in the comments all the things you're doing in your daily life, whether it's helping to turn off lights in rooms that you're not in, whether it's buying products from companies that have good sustainability practices. Let us all know the everyday things you can do, even at home, during this time to help celebrate Earth Day. And of course, everyone, please continue to be healthy and safe. Continue practicing that social distancing. We can't wait to see you all again on Wednesday. We can't wait to see you all again in person, hopefully soon enough. Everybody, have a wonderful day. Have a happy Earth Day. And make sure you check out LSC.org, LSC in the House, to see all the other amazing live streams going on every single week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. They're actually now giving you shout-outs, so that's great.
It took me begging for it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Shutting the live stream.